Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cascadia Composer's presentation, member presentation. Tonight we have a pleasure of having Paul Safar giving a presentation. Thanks, Paul, and thanks Liz Nadella for setting all this up. And take it away. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, Kevin, and thanks everyone for chiming on in and joining me. This evening, I was planning on just sharing about three projects that I've done in the last couple of years that you probably have not heard because they've not been programmed on Cascadia composers, and each one of them has some level of collaboration, whatever that means within it. And I thought maybe I could share kind of some of the backstories of those pieces, how they came about, share the music. I'm hoping that the Zoom, all the sharing works well. Fingers crossed. And then let's definitely save 10 or so minutes, if you don't mind, at the end to maybe have a little discussion because I'm curious if any of you all have had experiences taking the idea of collaboration further than what I'm talking about and even co-composing and things like that, or group improvising, and just any other experiences you might want to share. So, but I'm going to get started with the idea of that. One thing I think we can all relate to if we're composers here. I know we're a mix of composers and performers and everything in between, but composing is a very solitary act, and I appreciate that personally because I think that fits my personality. I'm a bit of I enjoy my alone time. I enjoy walks in the woods, and I enjoy creating things on my own, kind of being my own boss, having my own time frame, my own discipline, time structure. And but at the same time, some of the most rewarding projects I've done have been in some fashion with somebody else. I mean, we don't live in a vacuum. We obviously hand off music to performers, hopefully, and that's a collaboration, or you collaborate with your audience. For about 10 years, my kind of main collaborator was my wife, the singer Nancy Wood, who sang on a number of Cascadia concerts over the years. And it was really great because we did a lot of art songs and things together, you know, the traditional aspect of a librettist or a lyricist who would come up with the text first and I would set it to music. Occasionally we would do it the other way around. I'd actually have a whole piece, a little art song written out with a melody line that didn't have any text and she would put it in. On rare occasion, they would almost kind of come together. So there was that kind of collaboration. There's, of course, the idea of collaboration in the sense of maybe you've already created a piece, but you know that it would pair well, and maybe you conceive of it that way with something like dance or visuals. One of my fondest memories was of a piece of that nature recently was this piece I did, the homage for Bell Hooks, that was with a crump-style dancer that was on the first Cascadia concert post-pandemic. I'm not going to present that one here, but I just wanted to mention that one because in that case, yes, I did write the piece independently and handed it off to the dancer to choreograph himself dancing, but starting writing it, maybe about a third of the way in, I conferred with him in the process and showed him what I got and kind of like got permission to go further. Like it was a real kind of wonderful thing to have him say, to answer a question, am I going in the right direction on this? And he said yes. So even that just sort of element of collaboration was big for me, that it wasn't that I just handed off the finished copy, it was part of the process. From my experience in collaborating, they haven't all been totally positive. Occasionally, we've had some kind of little backfiring things. And I guess it's probably common sense, but my word of wisdom is that you need to find somebody that has a similar enough aesthetic in general to you that you're going to be simpatico, but different enough that they're going to push you in a direction that maybe you wouldn't normally think to go. You know, to me, because we all get into our kind of routines and things. So that's kind of one of my things my takeaways with collaborations of various types. I'm really lucky to have at least one of the two of a duo here, Marguerite Waddell, who the first piece that I want to share today is called Peaks and Valleys, Allegro and Adagio for horn and piano. And this was a collaboration in the sense of a commission, basically, and working with the specific performers that I knew I was writing specifically for. So I don't know, I thought maybe while I get my screen share set up here, Marguerite, would you want to give a little bit of this backstory since you're still here? And then, feel free, you don't have to stay for the whole presentation if you don't want for the other two
Sure, yeah, I
pieces.
might head out to dinner later, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, my colleague Coco Bender and I are a horn and piano duo, and we really prioritize programming works that are fun for both of us, because so often horn and piano music is kind of arranged as like soloist and accompanist, and that's really not what we're going for. We want to both have interesting parts most of the time. And Coco had studied with Paul in the past, and so like what Paul was saying about having a kind of just styles that familiarity with style and approach that gets along really well. So we knew that he was who we wanted to ask to write this piece for us, and we wanted to have a kind of a companion piece, or maybe a modern reimagining of Schumann's Adagio and Allegro, to have like a piece of about that length to program. And so, yeah, we sat down with Paul and we kind of shared our ideas, and he just really took it and ran with it. And I really love it's totally like in the voice of Paul. It's totally Paul's piece, but there's also some just like very charming little quotations and such from the Schumann. And it's just like the Schumann, it's kind of technically challenging, but very, very fun to play. And we've played it on many concerts, and our audiences have really enjoyed it. So it's been so fun. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, thanks so much, Marguerite. It was a real treat. And as she said, so I decided to kind of do the opposite of instead of Robert Schumann's Adagio and Allegro. This is an Allegro and Adagio. There are a couple little things in there, like I knew that Coco could sing a little bit, and I know she was pretty good at little percussion. So there's just a couple of little extra things that the pianist can do in there. I knew that Marguerite told me that she specializes in high horn playing, so I tried to focus a little bit more on that register. And I'm going to go ahead and play it. The title is Peaks and Valleys, comes from a quote that I remember, just not a one-time quote, but a phrase that my late father often said, that life is full of peaks and valleys. And being an avid hiker, it resonated with me. So I sort of had images in my mind of those things between the allegro, the hiking kind of quality, and the valley, the kind of the vast expanse of plains. So I'm going to go ahead and play this piece for you. It's in kind of an attacca kind of thing, so it's one long movement. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you cannot hear it. There we go. So, hi. Ah! Shush! Hold on a second. Why does this do this? Sorry about that. Okay. Can you see me and hear me? And did that all work? Yeah?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it
Thank
was
you.
quite enjoyable,
Okay.
Paul. Marvelous. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you. Well, and thanks to Koku and Marguerite for playing it more than appreciate it. More than just once. That meant the world to me. um, I'm probably going to keep things kind of moving along, but if anybody has a quick question about the piece before I get to the next project, which is quite an interesting one, and most of you probably are not familiar with it. Um,
I I would
quick
like to make
question?
a comment if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
Um, in the performance, I heard these. Well, it sounded to my ear, at least to my heart, it sounded like just these little rallentandos in there once in a while, where it was like both performers were like just pausing a little bit and then going forward, and it wasn't marked in the score.
No.
And I thought that was a marvelous. It was marvelous to be able to do that and hear that. That was part of their
Yeah.
performance. Yeah. So
Right, because
interesting.
you're a working duo and you breathe so and you're so musical. And there are definitely some things that they even asked me like, would it be okay to come down on this dynamic? It's not marked here or something. And like, I'm the type of composer generally that's pretty open to, you know, to interpretation and putting performers marks on the piece. And as long
Yeah,
as the
lovely expressive playing and very enjoyable piece, Paul.
thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Marguerite.
Well, the next project, I don't know if you all have heard about this, but involves actually a number of Cascadia composers, not just me. This is called Birds Flying Through, which is a collaborative kind of multimedia, multi-composer production that was the brainchild of Anise Thigpen, who is a Cascadia member living in Eugene. And her and Andrea Holiday, I hope I'm getting the names right, call themselves A Squared Productions, and they've been wonderful in the community here by putting on some very interesting productions over the years. Some of them featuring Anise's composing, operas mostly, and some of it kind of events with different composers. They had this idea a number of years ago and this piece was postponed 2 or 3 times because of the pandemic, but it finally took place last fall. Her idea was she fell in love with a chapbook, I guess you would call it, but a series of poems that go together by a local poet named Deborah Narin Wells. And the book of poetry is called Birds Flying Through. And the themes of it are, in general, seem to be various stages of life through a female perspective. And there's lots of bird imagery. And there's also lots of dealing with death and sadness in it. It's a pretty serious but beautifully done book of poetry. So she wanted to set this, but wanted to only do 2 or 3 of the poems herself. So she invited a bunch of Eugene composers. Catherine Brunhaver, who is part of the Elsewhere Ensemble. She's a cellist and composer in town. Colin Pip Dixon, who is a violinist and has his own ensemble called the Elsewhere Ensemble. Composer also here in Eugene. And by the way, he just did adjudication for for the local OMTA student composition recital. If you ever want to and he was fantastic. So if you're ever on your teachers out there of young ones are looking for adjudicators who are really good at that, he was just lovely. David Sprung, I'm not sure if he's a Cascadia member, an older gentleman who lives in Eugene, and Denise, the brainchild of this. So the cool thing was that she basically let us pick from a couple of choices which poems we wanted to do, two each, just to set them. Hi, Coco. Did you? I'm sorry if if I didn't catch you with the previous thing. Did we?
I I logged on late and just literally missed it. I
Oh,
just got home from I was touring up in the San Juan Islands and
oh,
playing a
gotcha.
piece by
Well,
Christina Rosnick up there actually.
oh,
So
wonderful. Well, this is Coco who played the piano on the recording that you just heard. So, but I guess we're on to the next piece. So sorry about that.
It's fine.
It happens.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, and I'm enjoying it now.
Okay. Um, and am I still on screen share technically? No, I don't think I am. Okay. Um, but what was I going? I'm sorry, I got a little out of. Oh,
You're not on screen share. I'm sorry.
I'm not on screen share. Good, good. But the cool thing that happened, so after we each picked our pieces, we had certain parameters she gave us in instrumentation. She knew she wanted to have a little bit of dance element, so some instrumental sections and things like that. Gave a rough time limit. But we really had no connection with the composers as they were composing various sections of the poetry independently. And then we met for like a first kind of kind of share session about how the pieces sounded, even just MIDI. And we were all kind of remarked just like, wow, we didn't even know anything about each other's works. And somehow there seemed to be a synchronicity as far as style and there were even some dovetailing of beginnings and endings of pieces that were sort of happy accidents. So I think we all kind of had this unique surprise. We're like, wow, it's actually reasonably coherent, even though we didn't plan on it being coherent. We didn't have any motifs that we shared or anything through this hour and 15-minute, long sort of multimedia piece. I would like to share, if it's possible, the two songs that I set in Birds Flying Through. They're called The Foghorn and Tonight, and there's a video, and the words are there. And as you can see, there's dancers, there's sets, there's a mime to some extent. There's like a person sort of shadowing. There's like these different, I didn't quite fully understand it, but interpretations of the female character who's singing. So there's like the singer, there's the dancer, and there's the mime, sort of all being various aspects of the same voice, in a sense. But I have to say, one of the most amazing things about this production, just on a practical level, was that unfortunately the singer who was supposed to sing my character for these two songs, which was sort of like the later staged age of the woman character in the book, she contracted COVID a day before the opening of the whole event of the concert. So last minute, very last minute, the other two singers who had other songs to learn by the other composers graciously learned my two songs just completely last minute. And so they were not able to like act it they were stationary and still reading the music, but the idea would have been for them to have been out acting it more without the music. But they did an amazing job. I just wanted to preface everything that these two singers learned this very, very quickly. So I'm going to try to cue this up, and again, please let me know if this does not work. But the Foghorn for piano, oboe, and voice. And there's a little cello in here too, so hold on a second. Here we go. This is the end of the previous ones. This is not mine quite yet.
and I would not know how to follow you. When I was a child, I fell asleep to the foghorn. One short note, one long note, the world safely tucked in. From my bed, I imagined each white ship, listening for the sound that would carry me home. The way I listen to your sleep now, the rise and fall of your breath, knowing there's no safety in your slightly open mouth, your eyelids fluttering like the smallest of wings. The rhythm of your heart, saying goodbye.
I think since I'm here, I'll go cue it right up to the song that I was in charge of this, and then we can maybe talk about this production afterwards. So that was the foghorn, and then the other contribution that I had is called Tonight. Somewhere in here, hopefully.
kitchen, where I catch glimpses of you, softly wiping the counters, stacking the pots, lifting the spoon in midair. Waiting for honey to trickle down. You're wearing the red flannel shirt. I can hear the tiny sucking sounds. Your lips make testing the tea. And I try to imagine 20 years from now, another winter night, fire humming in the stove. You'll unwind the jar of Earl Grey, shake loose the leaves into the blue-white pot. There will have been deaths by then, maybe births, our own ends closer. Will you remember this night in which nothing remarkable happens? Just you pouring the tea, the dark leaves spinning and swirling, then finally falling away.
So that's that. My contributions to Birds Flying Through of Anise Thigpen and A Squared Productions. So keep an eye out for them. Thank you.
Quite an evocative postlude there in that second song.
Thank you.
But I gravitate towards the first one, I think. I get this picture of the darkness and the forest outside the window, and just the life that is out there and the life that's inside and what might or might not happen. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the poetry did speak to me. and did incorporate, as you can probably hear, some reminiscence of bird songs in there, mourning doves, and there was one on a backpacking trip that caught my ear. I don't know I have no idea what bird it was, but I quickly kind of
had that
made note of it.
experience. Yeah, yeah. But also these lovely dark bass colors, very appropriate, I think, for the subject matter.
Thanks. The production was interesting. It was sort of, hard to describe what it was. It wasn't a play. It wasn't a pure ballet, ballet in a sense. It was sort of multimedia. It was interesting, but it was well attended, and I think people thought it was pretty interesting. And it was great to hear, hear these variety of composers, these 5 composers. I'm happy to go on to my last piece that I'd like to share here before we maybe have like a little discussion at the end, unless there's some other thoughts or
That singer and the marvelous. Wow, who is that?
They learned, so it was supposed to be Siri Vick, but she caught COVID. But that was Gretchen Farrar. Do you remember she came to Cascadia and gave some presentations on the arts, funding and grant writing. Jeff, do you remember, Liz? It was a little while ago. Gretchen from Eugene. I believe it's Farrar. No. Okay.
I don't deny it. It's just that.
Okay. I know there are a lot of people out there, and the woman in the foghorn, the first one, the tall one, is the daughter of a niece. Her name is Paige Carpenter, and I think she lives elsewhere, Arkansas or something. So, but I was just astounded that they learned it so quickly and were game to do that. That was huge.
The production, that set, wow, gorgeous.
Yeah, and
they
projected
I missed it. Oh, did you know? I don't know if everybody else saw this, but the video froze up. At actually for the whole second one, all I saw and all it's going to get recorded was a still basically, but the music sounded great.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if anybody else saw that. Did anybody see the full movie?
I saw the freeze, but I'm glad you didn't stop it because it was so wonderful that I'm glad you didn't stop it and start it.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't have it here on my end, so. Oh, weird, Paul. I lost the video. Okay, well, sorry about that.
Well,
these things happen, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope the next one is good. Okay.
Okay. So last but not least here, and I was supposed to have Chris join me. This is more of a real kind of collaboration. It was the glimpses at actually trying to compose something together. This is for trombone and piano, and Chris Shuttleworth is a wonderful trombonist, more steeped in the jazz improvisatory camp. He lives in Portland, grew up in Eugene. I actually taught him piano lessons when he was 10, 11, 12 years old, and then he switched over to trombone and never looked back. But we had been in touch over the years, and I've seen him perform, at jazz clubs and things over the years. And then a couple years ago, I think I saw him play at the jazz station, and it just sort of hit me, oh, wouldn't it be great to work on something together? I was thinking like a suite, something collaboratively, and I just tossed out the idea, and we thought, oh yeah, that'd be great. We could each take turns writing sections, and I came up with a loose just title to give some sort of framework or something to hang your hat onto, and he was game with that, and I called it "When the Fog Finally Clears." ... So Coco, if I were just to say out of the blue, when the fog finally clears, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Could be anything.
The rainbow appears.
The rainbow appears. It even rhymes. When the fog finally clears, Jeff. Sorry. Couldn't resist, but okay.
Sorry, you caught me at a loss.
No worries. So
I'm not usually at a loss for words.
Yeah, this is unusual.
You did it.
So the ones we came up with just happened to be, and some are 3 are mine and 3 are his. When When the fog finally clears, the sparkle of spring warms the very depths of my soul. When the fog finally clears, I see the lies I told myself. When the fog finally clears, a cathartic dance begins. When the fog finally clears, I see what is truly there. When the fog finally clears, the thick smoke remains. And lastly, when the fog finally clears, there is the sunset and the sunrise. So we decided we'd each take 3, but at some point we decided instead of just each independently writing, we'd have 2 of them where I would give Chris just some little random little snippet ideas for motives, for germs of a piece and a title, and then he would do the same for me. And that was the real fun part of this piece. And then just sort of deciding which section goes where. And we did some tweaking, rehearsing along the way, and there are some elements, a little bit of improvisation in it as well. The score that I will show in a second is pretty bare bones, just FYI, so don't get on my case too much about lack of detail. But I just thought I did track down on my cell phone here. I sent, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, what was the smoke title again? Sorry. I like that.
The thick smoke remains.
Remains. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was probably from my images of during, unfortunately, when we've had the forest fires and the thick smoke in the valley here in Eugene over the last couple of years. That even when the fog lifts, sometimes it's not this beautiful, clear, sunny day. It's unfortunately still thick smoke remaining. So can't all be light and sunshine here. It is a yin and yang of the world here.
The Emerald City.
But but I do remember I sent on my phone just a little hand scratch of 3 little random. These were not very thought out melodic ideas, but I gave these 3 little motives with the thick smoke remains to Chris and to write a short little section. And the 3 motives I gave him were, it looks like. That's one of them. The second one is. And then the last one was. I like that one.
Different than the
Okay.
other.
So I'll go ahead and screen share again, and this is a very, very short little movement. It goes by in the blink of an eye, but this is the one that Chris wrote based on those little motives that I gave him, and the thick smoke remains for trombone and piano. And where did all my stuff go? All my stuff went away. Oh, there's that. Okay, bear with me, fellow composers. Okay, how do I get out of here? I get out of it like, where'd my thing go? Talks amongst yourselves. What am I doing here? Pause. Why am I having trouble? Oh, I need to go like this. Thank you. Here we go. Hold on a second. If I want to try to find the actual score, give me a moment. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble here. This was exactly what I was hoping not to have happen. And here we go. Okay. Told you it was quick and painless. And since I'm here, let me go ahead and play one that I wrote, which concludes the suite. And this, I couldn't find the snippet of the little motive that Chris gave me to work on a piece, but his title was "There is the Sunset and the Sunrise." And I remember it had like a little bit of a sustained bass tremolo thing and this pretty little melody. But I seem to recall that I didn't like it as much in forward motion the way it was, but I liked it, I preferred it in retrograde. So that was my recollection, that I used the notes, but mostly I used it backwards. But the feel and flavor of it, I definitely utilized. So this is, if I can get this happening here, is when the fog finally clears, there is the sunset and the sunrise. And let me see if I can find the score. Here we go. So, did that all, you could hear it and see it okay?
Oh yeah.
Great,
That last tune was really sweet.
thank you.
I don't know what it sounded like. I don't know what it sounded like forwards, but I love it.
I think I used it forwards too, I can't remember. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And we decided that was a good last one to the suite.
I think so.
So yeah, it was a really cool project to do this with somebody, and I think it would be interesting to maybe chat about if you've all had some experiences like that, working a little bit more directly. I mean, it was still mostly independent composing, but at least there was some of that interaction and interplay. Do you have
And
some
you were
thoughts?
playing piano?
Yes. Yeah, I'm a pianist and piano
Mm.
teacher.
Mhm.
That's my main instrument.
Yeah, it's a cool collaboration.
I'm sorry.
Piano melodica and hurdy-gurdy.
Mm.
Right?
Nice.
Paul, I really enjoyed how your piano, of the parts and everything that you have shared with us, how it fit with everything that was going on.
Oh, thanks.
Just and it was so inventive and creative. Um, I just really enjoyed it. I want to listen to it again and again.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm actually trying to get my piano chops up at least one notch or so to see if I could maybe write something that's a little more on the virtuosic side, even if it's not for me to play. Maybe somebody like Coco down the road. So just I've started taking some piano lessons recently, so it's fun to
Who are
try to
you
keep
studying
moving
with?
forward.
Who are you
Oh,
studying
there's this cool project called the Nellie Tholen Fellowship. That's
with?
like an endowment that's for Oregon piano teachers. It's long weekends, 4 times a year for 2 years
Oh,
in
okay.
Portland, where teachers from out of town are flown in. So I just started that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
but I'm.
I'm often surprised by the agility of the trombone.
Mhm.
Uh, especially in the, now it seemed like maybe he was having a little trouble. I don't know if it's, just the way the harmonics line up with the scales and him having to move the slide around. It sounded like he was having a little trouble in the second piece, but in the first piece, he was just
Mhm.
popping around like
Right, it
crazy,
was real sharp and
and
crisp
and
sound.
and
Yeah.
it was boom, 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 boom. And I thought, wow, he must be flipping that thing around, but he probably had it arranged so he didn't have to.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, since he wrote that one too, and maybe that was part
He's
of
the
it.
trombonist and he
It's more
wrote it.
idiomatic when you write something for yourself.
Yeah.
And
His playing style is a little like when he did. I got to hear the premiere of this piece, and it was incredible in person. And he did some solo improvisations where he really came down really
right,
soft and
yeah,
played
yeah.
through some really interesting, like, I mean, trombone slide, so it's got the like
Hmm.
slide and very soft through those things. So I don't think he was having trouble. I think he was making an artistic choice to do it in that
Oh,
specific
okay.
way.
Okay.
There's a breathy. He does have a very distinctive style. I've heard in his improv work when I've just been in the
Hmm.
audience and hearing him. Oftentimes, there's a very introspective kind of breathy
Oh, okay.
style to it.
Okay.
So
I
yeah, I
just
think.
need to hear more, I think.
Hmm. An interesting instrument. Yeah, I haven't really written much for so being a piano and or a little bit string type player. I'm definitely least comfortable with brass. So this was kind of fun to have these two pieces to work on. The horn and piano and trombone and piano. I'd like to do more. I've written some, obviously. Um, I'm curious if any of you all composers have done, either. I mean, besides sort of like you know, text collaboration, but actual composing together, or it seems almost like an oxymoron. But I'm curious. There's obviously group improvising, free improvising, or semi-structured improvisation. I've done a little bit of that. It's not my comfort zone, but I really enjoy it, especially when it works or when I think it works well. But I haven't really, kind of composed with somebody else in a sort of, organic, actual overlapping way. I don't know. Have any of you all done something more along those lines, or not so much?
I did in Billings. We called it ourselves a composer circle, and our purpose was just to have fun with it, to create it. But we had piano, soprano, two cellos, and a viola, and we did a lot of things just I did some Cummings interpretations, that we did things where the soprano didn't want to sing any words, and so we just kind of goofed around with the sole purpose. I mean, not the sole purpose. Yeah, it was not to perform it, not to
Oh, like
just
kind of
just
experiment and workshop.
yeah,
But
and
were you like, was it one composer writing for the group with their
yes,
input, kind of like
yes, yeah. Well,
with
we
input?
would
Yeah.
write, yeah, we would write a piece, and then everyone would play it, and then
Okay.
give their input, and
But okay,
it
yeah,
was
I'm curious. I think maybe Cascadia at one point did talk about maybe trying to do some sort of, I don't know how you structure it, but multiple composers, not just like each composer has a minute or something based on something, some sort of thread, and you go bing, bing, bing linearly, but somehow actually,
we
one person composes the bass line for a Passacaglia and somebody else composes a counterpoint to it or something like that. I've never experimented
No,
with
we
that.
didn't do anything like that. We didn't have any, whenever, whatever one of us submitted, we played it and then went from there, and no holds barred everything. We went on
Nice.
for maybe 5 years like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's great to have people to write for the right there that you know. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And I have one funny thing about the fog clearing. It's not really funny. I grew up in Michigan at the Port Huron of the Lake Huron, Michigan, the Great Lakes, right there,
Hmm.
right on the river of this international river. And we had foghorns to me are like lullabies. I mean, they just put us to sleep. But when that foghorn lifts, the first thing you just instinctively look for, did anybody crash? No, and now
Mm.
there's very little traffic, river traffic, but it would go beep, beep, and it would, and then another one would beep, beep, and there was a river kind of like the Columbia, and it was a Canadian side and a U.S. side, and they were going on their side with the fog so thick you could not see them. We had windows all around our house for the sole purpose. My dad remodeled the house so that we could see all the ships. When that fog hit, you couldn't see the dock, you couldn't see the end of the yard. And when you heard those foghorns, it was just like, okay, we didn't hear any crash. We didn't hear
Wow. Wow.
yeah, they were,
That's cool.
yeah, now it's an amazing place. But they did have some accidents of one year, uh, a ship, I think it was carrying Hadisark or something like that. And so,
Ah, right.
and everyone was more worried about, where's all of that booze going to go, and is it going to
Yeah,
be in the
really.
ocean? I mean, the lake, the river, and you just almost make jokes about
I think
everything.
I saw a movie about something like that once,
Yeah.
except it was in Scotland. But anyway.
Oh, no, this is the bridge.
I was just going to ask. I'm sorry to go back. I was going to ask, since Coco is still here, do you have any thoughts about either specifically working with me, or because you've worked with some other living composers as well, what are some takeaways as far as your experience? Do you view it sort of like, especially if it's a new piece that you're that you're premiering, you're kind of owning, and you have some connection with a little bit of the process of working with the composer? Do you have some thoughts on kind of your experiences with that so far, or some
Um,
ideas for the future? Or,
I
since you're here, I thought
I've
I'd.
yeah, I've worked on a lot of music by living composers, and three, well, more than three who I've like really been in the process with. And uh, and working with you, Paul, was really fun because it was like, Marguerite and I, we asked for something specific, and then we were really surprised and delighted in how much we enjoyed your piece, because there's always a little bit of that fear there of like, uh-oh, what if we write something we don't we
On
don't
my
like?
end too, like what if you really, really don't like this?
Um,
Oops.
but one of the really nice things about like, having a relationship with the composer is like I we've been colleagues for a long time, and I was your student also many, 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 many years ago. And so I really understand your style and your style of composing. And so it was like greeting an old friend, even though it was new music. It was like, oh, that's a Paulism there, and it works really well. And then, the beauty of the line coming together, it was like, this is just incredible. Um, so it's great to have the conversation, but then also I've been thinking about this a lot because we're commissioning a piece from Christina, and I just played something by her, and I've been thinking about the circle of compositions, and it's like it comes into your mind, you write it down, and we take it and we get to make it our own, and you release it from your grip, and we had like one rehearsal with you, and then we went off, and it's a magical circle of creativity and beauty, and I love it so much.
That's cool. It's like hopefully symbiotic, right? Yeah.
So
Thank you. That's really sweet. I appreciate all your
yeah,
sentiments there.
it's delightful to work on new music and have a connection with the composers. So if you guys need anybody to play your piano pieces, I love it. I love it so much. It's creating the new idiom, the new sound, the new soundscape, and we're all here, we're all vibrating together in this
Right.
incredible
Right.
way. It's
Right. We need each other. Well, it's great that you and Marguerite have a working duo too, that just like a working string quartet or whatever the case may be, that um, then you have that already in place too. And we know that in Cascadia, how nice that is to have a pre-existing ensemble be the vehicles for the new music.
yeah, and it's an unusual ensemble too, like, trombone and piano with you and Chris, and then the French horn those are not usually what you would think of as a solo instrument, but they both ultimately become incredible like vocal like instruments, and they have such a different tone palette than we don't usually hear as the soloist. And so it really brings a different, you know, sensation to the ear and to the
Mm-hmm.
music.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. These are the only pieces that I was. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. If you need to head off, I totally understand. These are the ones that I was planning on sharing today, and would be happy to kind of cut it early, although I could be very spontaneous and share one last little tiny thing that's completely different, because it has sort of an interesting story, but I don't want to overstay my time here. If there's more to talk about, Kevin, I'll let you lead the show here.
Oh, no, I think we,
People's
we
time
would
is
welcome
precious.
more. We would welcome more. And I think what it's been an hour and 10 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
I think going 90 minutes would be just
It's
a
okay.
guess, reasonable
Okay.
length. So we got time.
Well, I wasn't planning on this, but since today is the birthday of my aunt, who passed away a number of years ago, and I was quite close to my Aunt Oli, Tanto Oli, who's lived in Vienna. This is a kind of a convoluted setup here, and I'm going to share a recording in a second. Then, not the score. I think just the recording. The last time I saw her, I went to visit with my two kids a number of years ago when she was 88 years old at a retirement home in Vienna. Bye, ciao. And she is of Czech background, and she had a nice voice, even in my opinion, at age 88. And we had to spend an afternoon with her last time I saw her, and I happened to have my little flip phone with me, and because she started singing some Czech folk songs that I didn't know, and I asked her, "Do you mind if I record you?" because it just, if you want, I just wanted to wish it. And I ended up recording it and transferred it to my computer, and had this thought of somewhere down the road, wouldn't it be cool to utilize this little song or a part of it or something? But I just let it stay there. Fast forward, I can't remember with the order of events exactly, but I decided to, I was very curious about this one song, and I sent it to another cousin of mine who speaks Czech to see if she could translate it, because I had no idea what the title was or what it was about. And she came up with the rough idea. She shared it. It was a traditional song, and it basically has something to do with a lover who asks a falcon. The title has falcon in it, and asks the falcon to take a message of love to her beloved who is on a far-off land, and she's trying to show that the lover, her true love and fidelity still remains despite their distance, basically. So it's like a message of true love. So what I ended up doing is I decided to put some new words to it. To me, it had connotation of the lover being off to war, but I just used one little stanza and made my own English words to it. Took the tune, and it's basically for piano and hurdy-gurdy. And my hurdy-gurdy friend in Spain is the one who plays the hurdy-gurdy on this. So it's a duet for piano, hurdy-gurdy, and I sing a little bit at the end. And then there's a little special surprise at the very end of the piece. So this is called When the Falcon Returns. And since this is the anniversary of the birthday of my aunt whose song inspired this, I figure why don't we end the evening with this? It's a little bit of a lullaby. Thank you for letting me be spontaneous. Now I just have to find it.
love that you shifted. I love that you shifted the key. Shifted the key for her. For her solo.
her
Yeah.
song, yeah. The low drone on the Gertie at the end is just
That was on
reverb.
the also.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that my friend Mark Egia, who I've been collaborating with, who lives in Catalonia, Spain, and who came to visit last summer, and we played concerts together. But we've done a lot of recording just online, just over the internet, passing files back and forth. It's been a real treat. He's got a really nice hurdy-gurdy that has the low drone that mine doesn't have, so he can do a few things on his instrument. So.
Can you do double stops on
No,
yours
he
too?
also has two.
Yeah.
Yep, he's got two melody strings and a low drone. Yep. And he can do all that, the picking stuff. The picking was on there, the pizzicato was the Gertie, which is neat. So, yeah, there's some interesting things. Thanks for, I don't know, this was fun to just kind of have an extra moment. I wasn't planning on playing
I
this
loved
one.
it. I just want you to
Yes,
know I
yes.
Oh,
loved it.
thanks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like tamburica. That
Mhm.
fact, my last name is Czech.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, totally.
Yes, and we call Tata Anna Tata Maria, and we have a sort of a mixture of Croatian and Czech, and
Hmm.
that my
Mhm.
dad snuck in there. My dad forbade it, but she snuck it in. We speak English in this house, and she go.
Oh.
I loved it.
Well, thanks. There's something grounding about folk traditions of any
Yes.
sort, So I always would listen to that recording of hers, and I'm like, I love this little tune, and it was just, I had no idea what the words were. I didn't understand anything, and my mom couldn't. My mom speaks a little bit of Czech, but didn't recognize the dialect or something. So it was, anyway.
I thought
I
it was
think-
a really moving piece. I mean, to remember
Yes.
your aunt like this, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And you did a wonderful job of bringing in the accompaniment and the different instruments that worked with the little melody so well.
Oh, thanks. I have this fantasy. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, and maybe it's not necessary. But I met a a puppeteer up in Portland a half a year ago. I've always kind of been interested in puppets, and as a kid, I did a little bit of that. But I haven't thought about it in years. But I went to a puppet slam thing up in Portland. I guess there's quite a puppet scene up there. I didn't realize a puppeteer community, and there's a puppet museum. Anyway, I met this puppeteer, and she was sort of interested in the idea of maybe making like a puppet movie using this, because they have these historic couple Czech old marionettes in their collection at the puppet museum that she could use for a video. So I thought, oh, that would be, I don't know, that'd be icing on the cake for me.
That would be wonderful.
So, yeah, who knows? So, well, thank you all for just your kind words and encouragement and attentiveness, and appreciate the opportunity to share some of these pieces, because, like I said, most of them you probably are not familiar with, and
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
my
Thank you,
pleasure.
Paul. Wonderful
Good
music.
evening.
Really
Oh,
enjoyed.
thank you for being a part of this. Appreciate it. Thanks, Liz, and great to see you all, and hope to see you live again soon.
Hey,
Uh,
thanks.
Thank you, Liz.
Bye-bye.
and yes, Teresa, yes, it is the one in Selwood.